Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. Thanks for tuning into the podcast today. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I have a question for you. What if I told you that creating less content for your marketing could actually attract more clients to your practice or your business? It is possible. And if you listen into today's episode, I'm going to share some smart content strategies and how they will help you grow your practice or business. And it's not going to be putting endless posts on social media. So you ready to find out how this is possible? Well, then let's get into it. A lot of you are probably thinking, well, how can you actually create less content and bring in more clients, Kathy? It's all in the words you say and where you say them. One thing to remember about the 4 pillars of marketing, which we talked about in episode 131, is that when all 4 are optimized and connected, your marketing works a lot better. They're the 4 pillars I teach in my Thrive Marketing Academy: foundations, messaging, content, and systems. We covered in more detail Pillar 1 of foundations and Pillar 2 of messaging in episodes 135 and 136. Today, we're moving on to the 3rd pillar, which is content. Content is that pillar of marketing that bridges the other 3 pillars together to help your message reach the people who need to hear it. Content comes into play sometimes in a different way than people think about these days. Part of it is because social media has taken over so much in our lives that when most business owners think about marketing a practice or a business, they automatically think the answer to their marketing struggles is to post tons of content on social media, and that's the only place that you should be doing things. Well, number one, there's a lot more to marketing a business or a practice than just using social media. And more content is definitely not the answer. The answer is to be very strategic about where you publish your content and that you focus on putting content out there that not only speaks to those ideal clients you're after, meaning that your message we talked about last time is ingrained in that content, but that when you publish the content, you will do it where it will best help you reach those same people. Now, this does not mean posting content only on social media or posting more content in all the places you can find. It means understanding what your marketing content can do and knowing how it helps people find you. Then, when you connect that with the types of people you're trying to reach, the message that you have, the foundations you have in place, that's when you can start strategically planning where the content will go. You're going to include your message in the content, and you're going to focus on publishing it where it's going to help you the most. And more often than not, that is not on social media, at least not only on social media, which people tend to see as the only way to do marketing these days. The goal is for that content that you spend time creating to bring people to you. Typically, we want them on your website where they can book a call with you or reach out to you, but it could be bringing them to your actual door as well if you have a brick and mortar practice. So why do so many people lean into social media as the be-all and the end-all? I often say it's because of the very reason that a lot of people reach out to me, because they don't know what they don't know. And that's what they tell me. Most practice and business owners don't understand how their marketing content is going to actually help them attract the clients to their business by putting it out there online. And one thing that a lot of people never really think about is, in fact, how the content you put out there will help the search engines send people to you and to your website. And that is a really big part of understanding marketing and content in particular. I have a lesson in the academy that's called the big picture of online marketing. To put it down to a very simple way of understanding this lesson is you have to make sure that the content that you're putting out there online can be seen not only by the people you're trying to reach, but by the search engines so that they can send people to you. The content you put out goes to the people, goes to the search engines find it, send people to you, and match them up. This is why it is so critical that you think about that big picture when it comes to doing your marketing. The biggest mistake that I see folks do with marketing and content in particular is that they know they have to do marketing, which is great. So they start creating some marketing content and they try to get it working to bring them clients and business. But then oftentimes it's not working. And when it's not, they start doubting themselves and they start looking for ways to improve it. And you've probably been there Googling marketing strategies for private practice, or how to market my practice, or how to grow my business, how to get clients into my private practice, how to get clients for my business coaching. Once you start all this Googling, you get lots of ideas and you see lots of opinions on what will work. So you start thinking, well, let me try this, what so-and-so is doing, or maybe I'll try that. And it becomes a game of try this, try that, see what's going on. There's lots of advice out there. I am definitely not saying that all my marketing advice is the be-all and the end-all. But one of the scariest ways that I find people trying to fix their marketing is that they start putting more content out there. And this happens all the time. People talking to me in consults, they often say that when their marketing wasn't working, they found out from someone or they read somewhere that you just have to keep putting more and more content out there. If you've been listening to my podcast for any time at all, you know that I will tell you putting more content out there is not the solution. You've got to figure out why it's not working in the first place. I always remember this one consult I had with someone who was doing all of these reels on Instagram. And she was putting a ton of time into learning about the latest trends, how to make reels, putting captions on them, everything. She was following all of it. And by the time she booked a consult with me, she was exhausted from all of this marketing. She felt like marketing was her full-time job at this point, and that her job was not actually her practice and her clients. When we talked about how all these videos were helping or not helping, we reviewed one of her best videos, which I think got about 12,000 views. We took a look at it because for a lot of people, that is a ton of reach when you're looking at having an audience maybe that's only got hundreds of people. 12,000 views is a lot. But she said, I don't understand because I got all these views, but nothing happened. Nobody turned into clients. We went and looked at the reel. We went back and you can look on the insights and we took a peek at who the people were liking it because there were several hundred likes on the reel as well as all the views. And she had thought that because she had that many views and hundreds of people liking it, that something would follow, ideally leads, consults, customers. She had the content, she had the system, she had her message, but she was actually missing a key element in her foundations, which was a strategic plan for the content. But as we analyzed the likes and the comments, a lot of them were from fellow dietitians or friends. The majority were from accounts that look like potential bots or fake. They're often people with odd usernames, no bios, no information, and located in other countries. And that's always a hint to me that somewhere, somehow, something happened to trigger a little viral sharing of the reel. As we analyzed this and looked at it all, she could really see that the people who were having reaction to it, making the comments, the likes, were not actually her ideal clients. And so she understood what I was saying then, that doing more and more of this and putting it all out there, it's great for reach. It got her some new followers, but they weren't actually ideal followers either. And so translating those reels that get lots of views into clients is really challenging to do. Then we got into a conversation about her current clients that she has. And so I asked her a few questions like, do you know where they're coming from? Do they tell you where they find you? She said, oh yeah, a lot of people find me from Health Profs, which is a website that she's registered on. And she had a specific dietitian specialty. So she was on a website for that as well, kind of like an industry association type of thing. She got a lot of her clients from referrals from therapists and doctors that she knew. And then the other people typically said they found her on Google. So then when I asked the big question, how many of all of these clients found you from your Instagram posts and your reels? And she said, well, none of them did. I said, okay, so when people connect, do they book a discovery call? And she was like, yes, they do. I said, when they book that discovery call, is it coming typically from the form on her website, on her contact page? And she said, yes. And it was at that point that she kind of paused and she was having her aha moment. I knew that's what was going on. And she was like, oh. And I said, yeah. And I knew then she understood that all of these people, all of these clients she was actually getting, the ones she did have, none of them were coming to her from social media. Yet she was spending the majority of her time putting all of that content on social media. She, in fact, had not been putting any content on her website in the form of blogs. I know I'm going to say the B word here. She wasn't doing anything like that. She did have a newsletter list, but she found it challenging to send emails out, so she wasn't doing that either. And that's the thing. When you look at your marketing content, the most important aspect of your content marketing plan and your strategy is where you're going to publish the content. It is just as important as the message you put into your content. So in her case, which, by the way, is very similar to many folks that I talk to, what was more important for her was to actually have a better presence on her website. Social media will definitely help you market your business or your practice. But to be honest, the more important part of your social media content is the profiles more than anything. And that's one of the 10 foundations in Pillar 1 of marketing. Your social media profiles, when they're optimized, they can actually help people find you a lot easier, find you and your website and ways to connect with you and book those discovery calls. The profiles help people find you because those profiles are actually well indexed in the search engines. When people put, especially if they have your name, when they put your name and your information in a search, you'll see your social media profiles, if you've done well with them, will tend to come up really high in those rankings. If you want to test it out, if you have a LinkedIn profile, go to the internet, go to Google or Bing or wherever you like to Google things. I guess if you're Googling, you're probably on Google, but anyhow, put in your name and put in your type of business and see what comes up first. For most people, once you add your personal name in there, unless you have a name like Kathy Smith, Kathy Colaiacovo will definitely get more hits for me specifically. When you do that kind of search, and I challenge you all to do it, go put your name out there, put your type of business out there and see what comes up. You're probably going to find that your LinkedIn profile comes up first. You might find your Instagram one or your Facebook page there as well. LinkedIn is typically the top one. Do that test and see what's out there. Sometimes you will find Instagram content is coming up there now, but it doesn't come up unless you have your name with it. And most people, if they're looking for someone, most people that are looking for your help and don't know you, don't know your name. They don't know your business name. And that's why the rest of your online presence is so important. The best kind of content strategy that you can have out here is to consistently publish content where it's going to help people find you and where it's going to help the search engines find you too. The whole point of all of that content is that whatever content you're putting out there is also focused on speaking to your ideal clients and the problems they have and how you can help them. And behind all of that, of course, is making sure that you have keywords included in all of that content too. That is the best kind of content strategy you can have when it comes to marketing content. Focus on publishing your content where it's going to help connect you with the people who might be looking for the services you have, where they are looking for it. In the example that I was talking about for this consult, She saw what I meant right away. People that are looking up someone with her nutrition types of services, they're not instantly going to Instagram to look up someone like that to help them. There are people, yes, indeed, that do go to Instagram, but in her case, none of her current or past clients were finding her on social media because that's not where they were looking. When you have that information and insight on your ideal client because you know about it from your actual clients, that's when you want to make sure you use that as part of your marketing strategy and your content marketing plans. In this case, most of her clients were finding her somewhere first and clicking through to her website or directly coming to the website. That means you want to take advantage of that and do as much as you can and make sure you include your website in your content plans. For a lot of people, it will come down to the type of client you want to work with. Where do they hang out online? Where do they look for help online? When you look at your marketing content, this is why focusing on publishing that content where it's going to help you the most. When I help my clients in the Thrive Marketing Academy do this, we follow what I call the Thrive Marketing Method, and they include that in their content strategy and their plans. Part of this method is making sure that you're publishing content consistently online. It involves having a very streamlined process to doing this. This Thrive Marketing Method involves taking a main piece of content, what I call your anchor content, and putting that first and foremost on your website. Then you can use that same piece of content as the basis for your other types of content that you're going to put elsewhere, like in your newsletter and on social media. The Thrive Marketing Method is not about creating tons of different content that you're going to post out on social media and in your newsletter and on your blog and in videos. It's all about planning to create one main piece of content and publish it where it's going to matter for you and your business. Now, fair warning, I am going to use the B word again here, folks. The way that I do teach people how to do this is putting that anchor content piece on your website, which typically means you're going to be publishing a blog when you do that. Blogs are great for websites because they keep your website updated with new content. Every blog that you have out there is a new page on your website. And one of the things search engines are looking for is consistent new content, helpful, useful, relevant content that is written by people for people. By the way, don't put too much AI content on there because it's not going to help you. And what you want to have is this new content being put out there so that it can not only be found by the search engines, but also by people that are searching for your services. Ideally, what you want to have is a match. Somebody types in a search, the search engines say, hey, this is where you should look, and that is where they send them to your website. Now, because I did use the blog word here, I want to explain something before you shut me down completely and say, no way, Kathy, no blogging, no how. You do not have to be a perfect writer. You do not have to be a published author. You do not have to be a master of words to be able to create blog content for your website. All you're doing when you write an article for a blog or a newsletter is simply taking the brilliance out of your head and putting it into words and publishing it on your website. It's the same kind of words, the same kind of things you say to your clients day in and day out, the advice you give them all the time, the information that you share with them. That's all blog content is. If it's been scaring you to think about putting blogs on your website and writing articles like that, you really need to let go of it because doing this can be a lot easier than you think. The way that I teach people is I show them how to create a content bucket of topics with ideas that they're very smart about and have expertise in, and learn how to create articles that they can then write and publish on their website. That's that anchor content. And what you basically do with that is you convert it a little, and then you can put that same article into a newsletter and send it out to the people on your email list. And hopefully, because you've been listening to me, you actually do have an email list going out so that you're collecting leads somehow, people's names and emails that you own and control that are not owned by Meta or any of the other social media channels. and that you don't just have a community online on social media. Those email lists are critical. Just about a month ago, I had another group that I'm part of, or that I have connections in, and they had their Facebook page hacked and they lost almost 6,000 in contacts. Thankfully, they do have an email list, but it is very challenging when you don't have control like that. They've tried everything they can to get the page back, and it's just, you don't get any answers from those support emails on Meta and Facebook. It is something to really think about, having your own email list. But even if you don't, at a minimum, you want to be putting that new content on your website. And then what happens is you can take that same article and break it up into pieces and put it out on social media. There is no need for any business owner, any entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur practice owner who is often on their own and doing all of the roles in their business, wearing all of those hats as the CEO, the sales, the marketing, the admin, the booking, the billing. You're everybody. You do not need to be writing tons of content for social media and different content for your blog and different content for your newsletter. One article, blog, newsletter, social media. That's what the Thrive Marketing Method is about. It's a 5-step content repurposing strategy that I teach people. And please, if you are one of those people writing all sorts of content for Instagram and Facebook and Threads and LinkedIn and not putting any of it on your website, you are wasting so much time. And it's one of the reasons you're probably sick and tired of doing your marketing, because you're spending too much time doing it. I'm just going to run quickly through the 5 steps involved in this to give you a bit of an idea that when you're ready and you've thought about where you want to put your content out there, how can you do it in a simpler way? Here's how it works. Step 1, you write that core article, that anchor piece of content, and you put it on your website as a blog post. Then step 2 is you make that a little more personal and put that same content in your newsletter. When you have a few simple tweaks there, you can turn a blog easily into a newsletter. You just simply add a little personal story or insight at the beginning, and that helps build some trust and connection with the people on your email list who have already been exposed to you somehow because they got on your email list. The third thing that you want to do as part of this process is start sharing some educational tips and posting them on social media. And I don't mean writing them all from scratch. Pull out helpful tips from the article you already wrote. Turn them into social media posts that educate people and position you as a trusted expert and person that can help them with their problems. The 4th step here is you're going to create some blog promotional posts, is what I call them. This is some social media content that's a little more salesy because you want people to click and read your blog. All these are a couple of short sentences that explain why they should read the whole article on your website, the blog, and you include a link to guide people to your website to read it. And the 5th step in this is just to basically schedule some time and publish it. And that, my friend, is the biggest part of saving time here, is that you block a set amount of time so that you can plan and schedule everything ahead of time so that you're not posting every day and doing it live. If you follow this method, you have it at the ready to post online all at once. Schedule it out for a month. Schedule it for 2 weeks if a month is too scary. The idea is that you have that consistent content going out. Your blog is scheduled, your newsletter is scheduled, the social media content is scheduled. And then you can pop in and out and network with people online. But that consistent content is what's going to lead to more website traffic, more client inquiries, and ultimately more business. And it's the best way you can stop creating tons and tons of content for your marketing and spending tons of time doing the marketing, and instead get back to doing what you love, which is working with your clients. Just remember, one article, anchor content on your website as a blog, same article, adjust it a little bit and send it out to your newsletter folks. Same article, pull out some pieces of content, some tips and things that will educate them to post on social media. Add a couple of posts that are a little bit salesy in the way of, hey, if you're looking for a good article on blah, 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 click here and read to learn XXX. And then schedule it all to go out and fill your content on your website, your email, and your social media channels. That's it. Minimal, useful, and effective. I do have more on that whole system in episode 50, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes because that will give you a bit more of an idea on how to put the MVP plan into place. I call it your minimal viable plan for marketing. And in the next episode, I'm going to take this lesson and go a little deeper on sharing some tips and ways to help you do that minimal marketing on a consistent basis. So be sure to hit follow wherever you're listening in to get notified when that next episode goes live. I will put a link in the show notes to the episodes that I mentioned earlier on foundations and on your messaging as well, and also on the one with the MVP plan for a marketing plan too. They'll be in the show notes at marketingyourprivatepractice.com/137. And if you missed those previous ones, be sure to go hit play on those to review more information on those first two pillars of marketing. And that's all I have for you today, folks. I really want to remind you, if you want to thrive in practice or business, it means taking a strategic approach to your marketing and especially the content, so that when you do that marketing, it becomes a lot more easier, more intentional, and a lot less overwhelming. And best of all, you'll start seeing an uptick in clients reaching out to you. I'll see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.